All right, man, peace. So I felt like the New Orleans Pelicans versus Portland Trail Blazers series was going to be very competitive. I stated in my preview video for this series that in order for the New Orleans Pelicans to have a chance to beat the Portland Trail Blazers, that Jrue Holiday and Rajon Rondo would have to approximate what the Portland Trail Blazers will be getting from Damian Lillard and CJ McCollum. And if they can get something near that Anthony Davis could possibly take them over the top. Well, if you were going to tell me before the series that Jrue Holiday was going to look like Joe Dumars from the 1989 playoffs, then I would have said, okay, New Orleans is going to beat them, most likely in 5 games. Now, I'm not quite saying that this series is over yet. There's still game 3 to be played, but I'm not quite sure what Portland can do other than CJ McCollum and Damian Lillard getting very, very hot. They're both so streaky. That's why I've stated in many of my videos where I speak on Damian Lillard that he's a streak shooter and a streak scorer more than a great shooter. That's why he cannot be really compared to a Steph Curry, because Curry is going to shoot 48 to 50% in the season. Damian Lillard is very streaky, and he's going to shoot anywhere from 42 to a high of 44%. And we're seeing that in this series. This really is a bad matchup for Portland because the New Orleans Pelicans backcourt is without a doubt the best defensive backcourt in the NBA and most likely the smartest. When you're talking about Rajon Rondo, he probably has the top basketball IQ of the past 15 years. And Jrue Holiday is a former all-star point guard himself who's now being switched over to shooting guard / combo guard. They have a situation where either one of them can run the point. Kind of similar to Portland, except the New Orleans backcourt brings a little bit more to the table. Maybe they just haven't had the chance to shine as much as the Portland backcourt has because of the system that they're running and the fact that they have to run a lot of the offense through Anthony Davis. But if they continue to play on this level, they're going to be a serious problem for the Golden State Warriors, especially if they're able to sweep and they're able to meet Golden State early, because Golden State, I'm expecting them to at least win 1 game in San Antonio. I don't think that series is going to go more than 5. San Antonio has not been able to generate enough offense to really be competitive with Golden State. But what has truly stood out in the Golden State series so far is their level of defense. But back to this series right here. I was amazed at the performance that Jrue Holiday put on in Game 2 against Portland last night, especially in the first quarter. He was dog walking Damian Lillard, like taking him for a walk, man. I was like, he was going between the legs, killing them with the left hand, finishes, dunking over the Portland Trailblazer team with the left hand. I was like, damn, this guy's killing Lillard. But anyway, you know what? They're going to talk about it. I'm going to chime in.
But what the Pelicans have done here is special. They took the old script, and instead of following it, they ripped it up, and now they get to write their own ending. And guys, after the game, Alvin Gentry said to reporters, give me a better two-way player in the playoffs than Jrue Holiday.
We're all excited.
Well, thus far, Jrue Holiday's been the best player in the playoffs.
Jrue is playing well. He's not the best two-way player, but he's having a damn sure good playoffs on both ends of the ball. But you still have LeBron James in the playoffs, and you still have Paul George,
I don't consider LeBron James a two-way player anymore. I can't. He's one of the worst defensive players at his position, if not the entire NBA during regular season. And I have not seen much difference in 1 game in the playoffs thus far. Now, we'll see what happens tonight. But I think that defense is a habit. You just can't not play defense throughout the entire regular season and then turn into Scottie Pippen in the playoffs. It doesn't happen that way.
But, these guys are...
And Chris Paul.
These guys have been known throughout their career as great two-way players. This is just the birth.
Those guys are in the playoffs.
Holiday.
Did you see CP's first game?
Oh.
Thank you, Tracy. They brought up Chris Paul as one of the top two-way players in the playoffs, and he is, but he played horrific in Game 1. As I've stated, this playoffs is going to be a referendum on James Harden and CP3, as well as Mike D'Antoni. So stay tuned in regards to how they conduct themselves in pressure situations. Of course, through 1 game, James Harden has shown. He's shown very brightly in 1 game.
No, I'm just saying. No. I'm just saying.
But he's been known throughout his career as being one of the best defensive guards. CP is what I'm saying. But, hey.
Jrue Holiday has a very strong left hand. He has a great left hand, finish, and dribble. And that really paralyzes the defense because they don't know which way he's going to go. And, of course, his defense is top-notch.
Jrue Holiday is making a case for himself. He's not the best, but he sure is making a case for himself. He's playing outstanding basketball.
Look, I mean, I'm not going to say he's the best, but clearly what he's shown in these 2 games, he's one of the best. I mean, we can't deny what we have seen these last 2 games. I mean, the fact that he's playing against 2 guards that could light you up for 30, and defensively, I mean, he's holding these guys to inefficient scoring, and he's scoring on the offensive end. So,
and beyond that, let me say this. One of the reasons why his defense is able to shine so brightly is because they're able to get Portland into a half-court game due to the fact that Rajon Rondo, being the brilliant basketball mind that he is, understands and is controlling the pace. He is not allowing Portland to get off on fast breaks. Rajon is dictating the floor of the game. And that's what I mean when I talk about Russell Westbrook. If Westbrook had the basketball IQ of Rajon Rondo, he'd be one of the top 5 greatest players to ever play, without a doubt. Because Rondo is able to control the game with his mind. And what his presence has done is it has allowed Jrue Holiday to move over to the off guard and bring a point guard level brain to the off guard position, which makes them very interchangeable. Rajon Rondo could play in the NBA for another 7 years just because of his brain. And he's been in the league since 2006. This is his 12th year in the NBA. I'm not quite sure how old the brother is. He's probably like 31, 32. But he can play another 7, 8 years just because of his brain and the level of conditioning that he keeps himself in. If they bring back Boogie Cousins next year, it will be very interesting to see how far this team can go. I mean, to be quite frank with you, it'll be interesting to see how far they can go this season, especially if they meet the Golden State Warriors in the second round without Steph Curry.
and so, yeah, I mean, if I'm advocating for my guy to be, you know, the best two-way player.
What a coach should say.
Right.
For
Well,
sure.
first of all, as a coach, I think Alvin Gentry has done a fantastic job in this series.
He's been okay. Yeah, I'm still not in on old trot mouth Alvin Gentry.
Which is no surprise. He's a great coach, but it is nice to see him doing this here.
Great coaches win championships. I can't call him a great coach.
I want to give you some Jrue Holiday numbers, though. 50% of his shots in these first 2 games have been at the rim. That's up from 36% in the regular season. So
Yeah, because he's busting these dudes off the dribble. Like, he is hooping out there, man. He's getting these guys on an island, and he's just busting their ass.
so clearly they see something. And of those shots, he's making 73% of them.
I'll tell you what, Jrue Holiday, he is the most underrated player in the playoffs. I mean, that's because we haven't seen a lot of him in the playoffs over the last few years. I had a chance to play against him in the Eastern Conference when he was with Philly. He was an all-star. And so he's very underrated. He's just been riddled with injuries.
Absolutely. And that happens sometimes in certain players' careers where they hit a little patch where they're injury plagued. People forget how good they actually are. And then maybe they fall into the right spot with the right team and their career gets reinvigorated and people say, wow, I forgot how good this guy was. There was talk back in the early 2010s that Jrue Holiday was going to be the best point guard in the Eastern Conference. That's when they had Doug Collins coaching the Philadelphia 76ers. And I believe they also had Andre Iguodala and Kyle Korver on the team. But of course, things happen.
Over the last few years, but he's showing what he can really do, and that's why he got the contract he got.
I tell you who's helped him a lot is Rondo.
Absolutely.
Without a doubt.
Rondo has helped him a lot to get him off the ball. He's able to concentrate on scoring the ball instead of, you know, being a facilitator and having to score. You leave the facilitating up to the Rondo, and you just go out there and get buckets and defend.
We're going to move on to the other side, but please just tell the people how it is to play with Rajon Rondo on the court
My guy.
while he is yelling out, well, he's telling them what the other team's going to do before they even know it.
Listen, we have.
Before Paul Pierce speaks, let me say this. There was a time for about 2 to 3 years before Rajon tore his knee up that he was the best point guard in the NBA. Better than Chris Paul, better than Darren Williams, better than anyone else in the NBA. He was the best point guard for about a 2-year stretch before he tore his knee up.
We had Rondo, you know, especially after his first couple years, it was like almost we didn't need Doc because Rondo knew all the plays on offense. He knew the defense, where to be. And, you know, most of the time Doc would sit back and just let him, hey, he's going to run the top of the defense. He's going to call out all the plays off. But he's such a smart player.
Yeah.
You know?
That's part of his problem. He suffers from the curse of the gifted. He's so intelligent that it alienates him from regular people.
Yeah.
You know, that's a lot of things. If you didn't know, you're seeing it now. He knows the other team's playbook. He knows when they're going to run it. And he knows what plays to call, and he understands. See what I noticed last night about Rondo? He understands the pace of the game.
Absolutely, sir. Thank you. And I've been making this point for a very long time in regards to Mr. LeBron James as well. Not just Russell Westbrook, but LeBron James as well. And this is one of the reasons why the Golden State Warriors don't have much to worry about when it comes to winning championships as long as they're healthy. Because so many of these teams and these coaches, quote-unquote coaches, they're just trying to outplay Golden State in their style. And you can't do that. You have to bring a style that's going to alter what Golden State's doing. If you try to feed into what Golden State does, you're going to get beat.
He understands, like, the moment. And he knows when to push it, when to slow it down, when to get Anthony the ball, when to get Jrue. He controls the game. And you see, that's what you're seeing these first.
And also, one of the most important things about Rajon Rondo, which is an art that is kind of passed out of the NBA, he knows how to feed the post. A lot of these point guards do not even know how to feed the post. Look at Jeff Teague with Karl Anthony Towns. This guy, Jeff Teague, does not even know how to feed the post. He's a guy playing point guard who's really a frustrated shooting guard, Jeff Teague is. I watched that game 1 between the Houston Rockets and the Minnesota Timberwolves, and not only was Jeff Teague brushing Karl Anthony Towns out of the paint, brushing him off, but also when he did try to feed the post, the passes were horrific. And that's not anything new. I remember back in the early 90s when Patrick Ewing was playing for the New York Knicks. It seemed as if the only guard on the New York Knicks that actually knew how to feed the post after they traded away Mark Jackson was John Starks. Doc Rivers had a hard time feeding Patrick Ewing in the post, and definitely Greg Anthony couldn't feed the post to save his life. That is an art, to be able to set your big man up in the post so that he can make his moves. And Rajon Rondo is able to do that extremely well.
In these first 2 games.
And the Pels push the pace great. I mean, they look good. So let's talk about the Trailblazers.
No, it's really not about them pushing the pace. It's about them controlling the pace. You were not listening to what Paul Pierce said. He said that Rajon Rondo controls the pace, not push the pace. They don't want to run with Portland. They want to slow the game down.
Because there are Blazers fans out there, including our own producer Bodmer, who are a little crushed at Portland's playoff performance during their homestand. What needs to change for the Blazers
to be quite honest with you, there's not much that they can do. I mean, what really are the Portland Trailblazers going to do? Their offense is not innovative. It's very predictable. They pretty much ride or die with how well Damian Lillard and or CJ McCollum are shooting from the backcourt. And that's pretty much that. They underuse their other pieces. They don't utilize Nurkic nowhere near enough. And he's fallen into this rut where he's so accustomed to only getting 7 or 8 shots a game. Then when he does get the basketball in an advantageous position for him to score, he just kicks out to 3-point shooters on the sideline. And that's just not going to get you anywhere in the long run.
I'm a scorer. Paul is a scorer.
Yep.
And when we played in playoff games.
Now, for you guys who just saw that highlight, Damian Lillard is also missing wide open jump shots. So that's why I said I'm not going to write them off quite yet. Obviously, if they lose Game 3, they're done. But if they can win Game 3, they put a lot of pressure on the New Orleans Pelicans in Game 4. I still think that both of these teams are very close. And sometimes you just have that. You have a team that you meet up with in the playoffs. You're both very close in talent, but one team just has their stars go cold at the wrong time.
Teams like to, make it look crowded in the paint. And that's what they're doing with these guys. They're making it crowded for them.
And beyond that, what the Pelicans are also doing is they're having their guards guard Lillard and McCollum one-on-one. They're not switching, so they're not giving them that many open looks.
Coach has to do a better job of opening up, getting these guys off the ball, setting screens for them.
But they're forcing Damian Lillard to take a lot of long jump shots that are being contested.
And getting them loose. Right now, they're just seeing a bunch of bodies in their faces. And you got to pass in and Jrue Holiday on defense. Rondo is the same way. These guys are all over them.
And that's truly what great defense is about. You want to make the offensive player so paranoid about your presence that even when he does get an open look, he gets tight and he misses anyway.
Driving these guys, you got a shot blocker behind you. You got to do a better job of getting these guys on the move and having body screen for them.
I'll tell you what, this is just a bad matchup.
I agree. It is a bad matchup for them. And I didn't quite see this one coming because I didn't think that Rondo and Holiday were going to play as exemplary as they've been playing.
It's a very bad matchup.
I mean, you got two great defensive guards, and then you're big. You know, you look at Portland's big three with Nurkic. You have to match it with Anthony Davis.
Yeah.
I mean, this is just a bad all-around matchup for them, and I just think, you know, they're going home early. We might not see another win from Portland this season.
And there's a reason why, since Paul Pierce brings up this matchup, there's a reason why you have many of the higher-level teams in the NBA who start to utilize a lot of chicanery down the stretch of the season where they try to plot and plan which matchup they want. There's a reason why the Golden State Warriors allowed themselves to get blown out by 40 points in the last game of the season. They did not want to see the Oklahoma City Thunder in the first round, and they were very smart to utilize that tactic of deciding to allow themselves to get blown out like that. They knew that if they played the San Antonio Spurs, that even though they were going to come into the series with a great game plan, that all they had to do was play top-notch defense, and they would be able to outgrit and outgrind them. Portland, unfortunately for them, they're still in the phase where they're just happy to be in the playoffs. They don't care who they play. And it's going to lead to, or it seems like it's going to lead to their very quick exit from the playoffs.
Really?
I mean, think about it. You know, they have the best player in New Orleans and Anthony Davis over there. You have, Rondo is controlling the pace, getting guys in their sets, defending. Jrue Holiday is putting up numbers in defending. They're making your two best players inefficient. And if the
one thing I'll say about Gentry, he seems to know how to coach Rondo. Rondo's one of those guys that you just leave alone. Like for those of you brothers who work in corporate America, you may be one of these type of people, or you may work around one of those type of people who you just tell them what they need to do and you leave them alone. You don't have to micromanage them. You don't have to overmanage them. You don't have to hover over them. Just give them the scouting report, give them the game plan, and let them go. Rondo's that type of guy.
These guys can't get off. I don't expect nobody else to carry that load. They have nobody else to look to.
Yeah, well, I mean, look, and it's not just one-on-one defense. There's good team defense on Damian Lillard going on, and they've got to figure out a way to get it.
They're not giving the effort. I mean, if you look at New Orleans, look like the more athletic team, the faster team, the hungrier team, and that's something I don't get because Portland seemed hungry throughout the regular season. That's the reason they're the 3 seed. But
they're very hungry, Paul. But when the backcourt for the opposing team is going to provide 50 points and then top-notch defense, Portland can't beat them.
But they look like an A.
At least thus far.
Like an A seed compared to how hard the Pelicans are playing.
Well, I would expect. We have seen Damian Lillard fight. We know
I know he's a fighter. That's the one
I
thing.
would expect
I respect Damian Lillard and his mental, but the rest of those guys, I just think the New Orleans Pelicans just mentally are they have more dogs on their side, and I think the rest of the guys on the Pelicans are a little mentally weak.
Well, they'll get it.
I think that Davis is hungry to finally show that he's deserving of many of the accolades that he's been getting, and he's determined to get out of the first round. So good for him. Good for him. It's time, because he's approaching his mid-20s. It's time for him to break through that first round at the very least.
They'll get a chance to show us. They got 2 games in New Orleans. We'll see what happens. Coming up, Eric.
But anyway, that's it on the coverage for the Portland Trail Blazers and the New Orleans Pelicans. Very, very impressed with how Jrue Holiday has been playing. Once again, he reminds me a lot of a late 80s Joe Dumars in regards to his overall floor game. He could pass, shoot, dribble, and defend. But anyway, peace.